everybody, it's episode 328 of PodQuest.
Hey.
It's Wednesday, December 2nd, 2020. I am Chris. With me is Druten.
Hello.
And Walnut.
Hi.
How you guys doing?
I'm very tired.
I am too. I nodded off multiple times sitting at my desk today.
Well, it's also midnight. 6 o'clock, but it looks like midnight. So, that kind of makes sense that we're all tired. It's getting to that point of seasonal depression, and add to that your normal depression and your COVID depression. We're all just always going to be tired for the next couple months.
I don't really get any of those things, though.
Well, aren't you lucky?
I get seasonal allergies. Those things suck.
Yeah, those do suck.
No, I don't know if I just slept bad last night or what, but, I woke up kind of just not, normally I'm the type of person where, I'm not excited to be awake, but, I can just get up and start doing what I need to do for the day. I don't need to, hit snooze 50 times. I don't need to, slowly, work my way up to get out of bed. My alarm goes off, I can just get up and go. But today, everything just felt kind of, I don't know, sluggish. And then, yeah, I had no actual work to do. So I'm just kind of sitting here and, definitely fell asleep for at least, 10 or 15 minutes multiple times today.
Not bad. My last hour of work, I was playing roller coaster.
Why?
Because I had nothing else to do.
But you have all the other games to play.
Well, the thing is, I have it on my PC, where I'm right next to my work computer, where if I'm playing something on the PlayStation or whatever, I wouldn't be looking at my work PC just in case something comes that I have. So, during work hours, unless I'm playing on the Switch, I'm going to be playing on the PC. Because I can't run the risk of missing a call or whatever.
Okay, I guess that's fair.
Yeah. And I bought it this weekend because I fucking love Roller Coaster Tycoon. And I'm so mad at it, I hate it so much.
Yeah, I could never get into those games.
Well, it's Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 that doesn't have a sim mode. It just has a campaign mode. And it has a,
Wait, isn't the whole thing a sim, though? Well,
hear me out. The sim mode I want is random map, nothing there, build a theme park. And you can buy land, like Roller Coaster Tycoon 1. There's the campaign where you have objectives, and you have to get to a certain point, for each level. And then there's the sandbox mode, which gives you unlimited money. So it's just do whatever the fuck you want. I don't want either of those. I want to jump into a randomly generated map and build a theme park around it, basically. And it's not there. There's nothing like that.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't know any of that stuff existed in any of them. I've never played more than maybe 10 minutes of any of those games.
Yeah, I believe the original Roller Coaster Tycoon it's a basic just sim mode where you start out with X amount of money and you go from there. Whereas this one, it doesn't. You can make custom scenario, so I can make a custom scenario for it. But I tried that and it gave me the biggest map with nothing on it, and I just no. I'm so mad at it, so mad.
Well, since you're mad at that already, why don't you tell us about Demon's Souls since you finished it this week?
I wasn't mad at Demon's Souls.
Let's be real. There were multiple times where you were borderline ready to rage quit. If you didn't actually rage quit.
So I can't say I actually rage quit, but there were times where I did rage and then realize, okay, I need to stop and quit. But I didn't quit in the middle of raging, right in the middle of where I was standing.
So you didn't break one of your $80 controllers that are really hard to find?
No. There were a few times I did throw my controller, but I toss it in the air, it flips a few times, and I catch it. That's what I do.
Yeah, you've said that before. You're fucking weird.
Yeah, because I get mad enough to throw it, but then I realize it's $80, and I don't want to throw it, so I catch it before it drops to the ground, because I don't want it to break.
I guess that's fair.
But I played Demon's Souls, I beat it. That game, man, it's ridiculous. The last, I guess you could say, the quote, last world, it's World 5. The second area in World 5 took me longer to get through than the final boss in World 5. It took me about 3 hours to get from the starting point to the shortcut so I could easily go to the boss because of the layout. And it's nothing but poisoned water all along the ground. And as you're moving through the poisoned water, you move slower and you can't roll. So, if you try to hit the circle to dodge, he just like stumbles. And it is the absolute worst.
But you did it.
But I did it. After about 3 hours, I finally made it to the checkpoint, or not the checkpoint, the shortcut, and then I went and fought the boss, and the boss only took me, I think it was only one try, maybe?
Actually, that's not bad if that's true.
A lot of the bosses tend to take me one try. It's getting to the boss that is the difficult part. Like, the first boss took me a bunch of tries, Phalanx, but that's because he's just a big shield. And you have to wear him down by killing the shield enemies that are surrounding him before you can actually kill him. Tower Knight only took me 2 tries, but that's because I went into it the first time not expecting anything. And then a handful of others, like, took me a few tries. But, like, the worst one, the one that took the most, was, there were 2. And they were both in World 3. And it was it Fleshmonger, I think was the name of the creature? Or, I can't remember the actual name of the creature, but it's 2 bosses. You get one you get one to half health or less, and then a second one comes in, and you have to fight 2 of them. So that's a pain. And then the boss after that, in that same world, you run up these stairs, which is a pain in the ass to run up, and when you actually get to the boss, it's a forced PvP fight.
Oh, that does actually sound awful.
It was terrible.
Wait, how is it a PvP fight?
So you can invade other people's worlds and fight them as yourself. So it was a forced one where somebody would be up there, like, ready to invade, and it would force you to fight somebody else over the internet.
But, like, how does that work if you are playing this, like, later on and there aren't other people playing?
There's like a default character to fight, but it is still the dark spirits. It's a dark spirit, but it's not a PvP dark spirit. It sucks though. It was so annoying, and I think at least one or more of them were glitching and hacking, because like anytime I would just do a little bit of an attack, they would automatically dodge halfway across the world or the stage, and I'm like, this is stupid. This sucks. And it's like people have to know that that's what they're doing when they invade somebody's world. So like, honestly, if I were somebody to invade someone's world, I would invade and let them kill me, because I know how much of a pain in the ass it is to get to that point. I'd just be like, alright, come on, kill me, so that you can, like, finish this boss and clear this world. But besides that, the rest of the game was fun. There were times that I got super aggravated and annoyed that I would have to stop. The final boss took me about 20 minutes, but I only fought him once.
Well, that's actually not too bad.
Yeah. And he was fun. And what's the word? I give my thanks for training in this game, especially against the final boss, from God of War, and having to fight the Valkyrie Queen so many times to figure out her.
Oh yeah, those Valkyries were awful in that game.
The Valkyries were awful, but the Valkyrie Queen was the absolute worst, and that took me 3 hours to beat.
I didn't even bother going that far. Like, after the second one, I'm just like, this isn't fun. I'm not going to do these anymore.
I found them fun. They would get frustrating, but I found them so fun.
But you like the Monster Hunter, Bloodborne, Souls games, whereas I don't.
Yeah. So, like, I thank that for me being a little bit better in these games and, like, being able to kill some of these bosses in 1 or 2 tries. One of the bosses kind of glitched on me. It's actually World 5. It's the final boss in World 5. There is a woman that is down at the bottom of the area, and she summons a fighter for her. But the fighter got stuck at a spot, and I was able to just, like, slowly take the fighter down. And then when you go down and talk to her, she's like, oh, well, you killed my fighter. I can't defend from you. Here, take my soul. And then she just dies. But it was good. I did the good ending. You get a choice. It's not like however you play the game determines your ending. You basically get a choice. You can either walk away or you can kill the lady in black. And depending on what you do is the outcome. If you walk away, which is what I did, they put the old one to sleep and the world is safe again and there's no more soul power. If you kill the lady in black, you then take over as the old one and become a new demon. So I didn't get to see that, but it immediately throws you into a new game plus. And I was running around with my awesome sword that negates shields and can just cut through shields. So I wanted to fight Phalanx, and that fight was so much easier now that I had that. But yeah, Demon's Souls, it's good. It's such a good game.
Yeah, I mean, people definitely seem to enjoy it quite a bit.
Yeah, and there's just some like really cool fights and mechanics. World 4 has like some of the cooler battle mechanics or like boss fight mechanics that I can think of. The Educator is one of them, where he's like this big ogre guy, and he has a bird on his head, and he has like a broken sword stabbed into his stomach. You have to attack the sword enough to stab into him to where he drops down, and then you have to attack the bird. You don't do any damage otherwise, unless you're hitting the bird's head.
Oh, that seems annoying.
And then the next boss is the lost hero, who's blind. So the fight is either really hard or really easy, depending on your armor. Because the more armor you have, the louder you are. The more cloth armor you have, the quieter you are. So that guy took me a few tries, because like I would walk and stealth, but I would still be too loud. And then I found out, if I go get the thieves ring that makes me quieter and wear cloth armor, which I was a priest, I should have been wearing cloth armor, he can't find me. And it took me one try after I got that. And then the boss after that was really cool. It was called the Storm King. And you have to go out into the level, grab a sword that's stuck into the ground, and use it. And every time you swing, it takes all of your endurance, and it just throws this large slash into the air. And like kills most enemies in one hit, but kills the Demon King, or the Storm King, in a few hits. Or like, I think it was like 10. I was like, that's so cool. That was like one of the coolest like fights out there, and it was like it was like one of the easiest, but it was like such a cool thing that they did. And I like that like each final area boss has kind of its own mechanics. Like the dragon god, you didn't actually fight him, you just had to kind of break through and stealth across the area until you were able to shoot him with 2 ballistas, and then go and beat his head.
I've seen that fight before. There was at Games Done Quick over the summer. They someone did a speed run of the original.
Yeah,
and that was one of the few fights that they actually had to do.
Yeah, and that's like a really cool fight. Yeah,
because they were able to like skip a whole bunch of that game, because that's what speed runs do. But that was one of the ones that I remember them actually like it. That was the one fight that took a little bit of time, because they had to like do, like you said, like run to the different things to shoot it before they could attack it.
Yeah, and it's like kind of a pain, because you have to watch him and where he's looking, and when he looks away, you have to run to the next pillar and stand behind it until if he starts looking. And at the beginning of it, you have to actually break through like rocks and things like that are in your way, and he kills you in one hit. So you can't dilly-dally. You just got to go for it.
Yeah, I don't know. It still only took the speedrunner like maybe 2 minutes to beat it.
Well, he's done it a million times. Like this is my first time ever doing it.
There was no like waiting behind pillars or anything. Like they knew exactly where to go, when to go. I think if I remember correctly, they were able to skip a couple parts of the fight by like doing something weird, like going one way instead of the other or something like that. But it was still the longest fight that I remember seeing them do. Because a lot of the other boss fights, they took them out in like 1 or 2 hits just by knowing exactly where to stand.
Yeah, which makes sense. The game, it's just so cool. I really like those games. There's so much lore behind it, and I've been thinking about my 2nd, 3rd, and 4th playthrough. New character ideas. Like, I want to make just a full-on barbarian. Basically runs around naked, no armor, big heavy weapons, a lot of health, and a lot of strength. And that's it. And then I want to make just a full magic user, which Eric was going for, but it's a pain in the ass because your magic takes so long to recover that, like, what could take you only 2 hours to get through might take you about 12, because you're waiting for your magic to increase.
Yeah, that seems like it would be daunting.
Yeah.
A little bit.
But it's just, they're such fun games. If you can get past the absolute frustration, they're such fun games.
Which I cannot.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe just get good and you might be able to.
I mean, they're not for me. Like, I don't like doing the same thing more than once.
Yeah.
And a lot of that game is doing, going through like the same areas over again. Like, hell, I never even beat Devil May Cry 4 because I didn't like the idea of having to go back through all the levels again.
Right, because you did half the game as
Nero, and then half the game as Dante.
And you went backwards through the game as Dante. But you like Halo, where the first half of the game, you go backwards during the second half of the game.
I mean, look, the first Halo is not the best Halo, so...
No, it's not. But, like, even with your whole, like, doing the same thing over, it's like, yeah, if you die, you have to go through the same world over and over, but the the first time you go through, like, a place in a stage, like, getting from, the boss in World 4 to the Fallen Hero, the first time, took me about an hour and a half. Every time after that, it took me less than.
Yeah, which makes sense. I just know, like, from having tried Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne, like, I don't have the playstyle to actually get good at those games.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like the long methodical combat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, I don't necessarily want to watch and figure out patterns. It's the same reason I didn't fight the Valkyries. Like, figuring out patterns and all that just isn't fun to me.
Yeah.
I want to go in there, I want to fucking kill them, and I want to move on.
And that's like, the fun to me, is, like, sitting there trying to read what they're going to do, figure out where to stand when they're doing it, and when to go in and attack. Like, that's why, like, the final boss was so easy to me, because his attacks and his abilities had such an early read that I was able to, like, dodge back or dodge to left or right, and, like, within the first, like, 2 or 3 minutes of the fight, I knew all of his tells for every one of his attacks. And I knew, like, how to dodge it. And the only times I would get hurt is when I just messed up and dodged the wrong way or dodged too early.
Which I wonder if that's just a consequence of that game being essential. Like, they didn't really change the way the game played. Like, it's a 10-year-old game with a very shiny coat of paint put on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if part of that being easier is just you've gotten used to other games in that style already that are probably harder. So now going back to, like, the predecessor of them, you're just like, oh, this really, like, this isn't that bad.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure. Like you said, I already did. I beat Bloodborne. I liked Monster Hunter.
You platinum Bloodborne, didn't you?
I platinum did I?
Or do you have a couple trophies left? I thought you may have.
I don't think I platinumed it, but I fought every boss. Even, like, the hidden bosses. I never got the DLC, which I wanted to. But I don't think I platinumed it, but I do know I fought every boss. Because, like, even for, like, Demon Souls, to get the platinum, like, you'd have to do things like get all the spells or find all the items, and I don't think but, okay. Like, I platinumed God of War, and it had, like, fighting the Valkyrie Queen was one of the trophies, I believe. And I was like, I spent 3 hours fighting that damn Valkyrie Queen, dying constantly. But, like, so entertained the entire time. Just trying to figure it out and, like, realizing my mistakes and knowing, like, oh, why I messed it up. Basically, like, oh shit, I dodged too early, I dodged too late. I read that, I knew what she was doing, but I did the wrong thing to counter it. Or, like, I just got cocky or whatever. I just, there's something about reading and knowing what to do and trying to figure it out and, like, kind of trying to see the future in their fighting style that, for me, I just love.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, check out Demon Souls if you like torture. Like I said, I'm already thinking about another playthrough at this point.
Man, play something different.
Well, I am, for now.
Anything else you want to say about Demon Souls, though?
It's good. I kind of want to look up the bad ending, just to see what it is. Because I kind of don't want to play through it all just to make a different choice. And I didn't know I was going to have the choice option to, like, try to make 2 saves type of thing, or try to make a backup save, so I could just go and see both endings.
Well, I mean, if you play through it again, just go for the bad ending the second time.
Well, yeah, but, like, playing through it's going to take, depending on if it's New Game Plus or a straight-up new game with a new character, it's going to take a long time either way.
I don't know, it took you less than a month to do it the first time.
Well, less than a month, while I was also playing a bunch of other things. So, true. But it would be a different character build if I did a regular new game. So, like, I don't know how well that would translate to, like, my playstyle. Or how well I'd be able to change my playstyle to translate to the new character. You
just gotta get good, that's all.
Yeah, pretty much. That's just how those games are.
So, it's a very light news week. One of the few news items we have, Xbox added themes to the Series X, which isn't that big of a deal. Like, you can just... they're not as cool as the, like, PS4 themes were, where, like, they actually changed everything. But, you know, they might change over time. The cool thing they added in the most recent firmware update, though, is you can now preload Game Pass games. So just like if you pre-order something, like, you pre-order it, it'll install, you know, a couple days before and just have that, like, unlock timer on it till you can play it. You can now do that with Game Pass games, and they added a coming soon section on the mobile app and on the console, so you can see what games are coming to Game Pass. And if you want them, download them early so that you don't have to wait for, you know, 20 to 120 gigs of game to install.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's actually. I actually meant to go looking through the coming soon section earlier, but I never got a chance to. I know Dragon Quest 11 is coming to it soon, like tomorrow or Friday soon. I don't have time for that right now, but I might try and play that later. Because Rich, you and I were talking about that a few weeks ago about the demo letting you play like the first like 10 hours or whatever of it.
Yeah.
And frankly, if I can just grab it on Game Pass and play it that way, like why not?
Yeah.
Because I've never really played a Dragon Quest game. At least not more than like maybe like 2 to 3 hours.
They're good. I've never beaten them. I have played them and I've enjoyed them. I've just never. They're long and very Japanese RPG.
They're very grindy, from what I hear too.
Yeah, and the most recent one is the one that like was on the Switch. Is now on these ones. I guess it is 10 or
it's 11.
It is.
I think
11.
10 is an MMO.
11. It is just. It has like 13 different endings, and each one is additional further grind from the previous one. After you get like, it's so ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a long game from what I hear.
Yeah.
Which, not something I'm going to jump into right now, but at some point, probably soonish. But yeah, I think the idea of being able to like preload some stuff is cool because they are getting a little bit better about saying what games are coming. Like Control is coming soon.
Mm-hmm.
So like if I bought Control when it was on sale because it was a really good sale and it was the Ultimate Edition that'll get the next gen upgrade early next year.
Yeah.
But had I not, and I wanted to play Control, like knowing I could go in and like preload that, like I would definitely do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then one other smaller thing they added in the update, they're starting to like brand's not the right word, but show things a little bit more. So they added a sorting option, so that you can like sort things based on like optimization and stuff like that. So right now they have like you can sort by like title or I think release date or what console it's for. But they added a sort by if it's like optimized for Series X or S. So if it's an Xbox One game that's just being, kind of like what they did for the Xbox One enhanced version of stuff or like the PS4 Pro enhanced stuff. If it's just got like the extra features, you can now sort that as well.
Okay.
And they're adding tags to things for stuff like auto HDR, so you'll know if a game has HDR just on by default.
Nice. Which,
considering the Xbox interface is not very great, they need to go back to the blades from the 360. But
360 was a good interface.
The blades in particular. Everything else after that was garbage. The blades were good. But them just adding those little sort of life update features is nice.
Yeah. While we're talking about consoles, if there's nothing else to say, I have a little Did You Hear About thing for the PS5.
Go for it.
Did you guys hear that Sony is cracking down on people exploiting the PlayStation 4 classics on the PS5 by selling time to users on their console so they can go on, add all the games onto their account, like log on, add them all to their account, and then log off?
Yeah, they are banning PSN accounts that they catch doing that.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. Like, it's one thing if I have a PS5 and I claim all those games and then I'm playing them on my PS4.
Right.
Yeah.
But if I have a PS5, I'm just like, hey, do you guys want to just come sign in on my PS5 and like claim all those games so you can play them on your PS4? Like, yeah, no, that's kind of fucked. That's not the point of that service.
No, but like my whole thing is that I didn't even think to do that. That's fucking genius. Like, I never thought to be like, oh, you know what? I'll just let anybody just log in and get their PlayStation 5 Classics or PlayStation 4 Classics. I was just like, wow, that's like a really good entrepreneurial idea if you don't get caught doing it.
And I think the problem is like doing it in any sort of fashion that's going to get you money, you're going to get caught because you're doing it too much.
Yeah.
And Sony obviously gets the stats from consoles, so they're going to see consoles with a bunch of different PSN sign-ins.
Yeah.
And they also probably have, like, geographical data getting sent to them, too. It's like, oh, well, this PSN account logged in Chicago, and then 15 minutes ago it just logged in California. That's not possible.
Yeah, I was just like, when I saw that, I was just like, wow, I didn't even think to do something like that. That's crazy.
Yeah, like, I think, like, if I were to ask either one of you guys and be like, hey, can I sign in on your PS5 to get all those games? Like, nothing would happen to any of us. Like, one person doing it isn't a flag.
Yeah.
But still, like, that's kind of... I wonder how much money people made doing that versus like getting your accounts banned.
That is something I didn't think to look up, like how much people were selling it.
I haven't seen anyone post any like actual financial info on it. I've just seen a bunch of people talk about it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. But so moving right along here, Rich, you also finished Bastion this week.
Yes, Bastion, which is the first game ever created by Supergiant. I recently got it because it was on super cheap sale on Switch. I already had it on the PC, but I never had a controller to use on the PC, or just would forget to use my Xbox One controllers on the PC. So like I never played it. When I got it on the Switch, any downtime I had at work or whatever, I would play Bastion. And that game is so good. Narrative-wise, like, the way they tell the story, how, like, the one character, Rooks, is narrating as you're running through the levels. And to tell backstory for some of the characters, like, your character goes into a slumber, either from getting too high, getting too full, or just taking a nap. And, like, during those sleeps, like, they dream, as Rooks is telling the story of whatever character is related to how they're sleeping. So you get the backstory of the kid, you get the backstory of, the girl, and you get the backstory of, like, the villain, while just, like, killing enemies, because it would just be boring for them to just sit there and tell you what happened. And, like, it's crazy that, like, I knew nothing about this game, and it turns into, like, oh, like, a calamity happened, and then, like, how did the calamity happen, and, like, this game's 10 years old, and somehow, the whole story has never been divulged to me at all. And I was just like, it kind of blew my mind. And again, it's one of those games, has 2 different endings. You get a choice, it doesn't matter how you played, you just get a choice at the end. I took the evacuate ending, which, I don't know if you can consider that the good or bad ending, but basically at the end of the game, you get the option of either destroying the Bastion, which would leave the world as is, or using the Bastion's power to return the world to a point before the calamity. And so I decided to destroy the Bastion, because, like, they even say as you're going through and he's explaining, like, he's narrating, like, the powers of the Bastion, like, I don't know if this has ever been done before. Like, there's no way of telling. I know this is its power. I can't test it, because by testing it, it uses its power, and it brings me back to a certain time. So I've never tested it. Or I may have, and we might be going through the calamity for the 100th time. Who knows? So, like, it gives you that option of, like, do you just want to end it all here? Do you want to see what happens if you do it? It gives you a new game plus. So I assume, like, maybe I got a version that just gave you the options right away, or I was told that, like, New Game Plus gives you a different ending, but maybe it's just the 2 different choices. If you select, like, use its powers, that's the New Game Plus, is the calamity happening again. But, like, it's really cool how they do it, and I really like the art style. It's also just a fun game, a nice top-down game. They have challenges, things like that as well. But, like, I'm sure you played Hades. And
yeah, I've played 2, I've put a decent amount of time into 3 of their games.
Yeah, because,
I guess Transistor, Hades, and Pyre?
Yeah, I've finished Pyre. I've gotten 1 completion on Hades, but I know there's more to that story, even after you've completed after you've escaped once.
Yeah, and, like, their art styles for all their games are kind of, like, relatively similar.
Yeah.
I think. And it's, like, it's just a cool art style, and, like, cool mechanics that they incorporated in, that's, like, 10 years old, that it feels still kind of relatively new, even at 10 years old.
Yeah, which, it's kind of crazy also that game is nearly 10 years old.
Yeah, I didn't realize that until you said it earlier today, and you texted me. This game's nearly 10 years old. Do you have much more to say than you beat it? I'm like, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to make sure, because it is one of those games where, like, it's been out for a while. Like, are you just going to tell us you beat it, and then that's it? Or do you actually want to talk about it?
Yeah, I decided I'll talk a bit about it.
Well, do you have anything else to talk about? God.
No, not right now. I don't think.
All right. Well, I'm still trudging through Yakuza Like a Dragon. I hit the point where everything just got actually batshit crazy. So the game's kind of, it's crazy from the get-go, but it sort of keeps it not contained, but at least driven to a certain point. And then, like, around chapter, I guess it was 7 or 8, you get, like, your job classes and everything, and you can start sort of like customizing the characters a little bit more. The job classes are all ridiculous though, because I said before that the main character Ichiban is basically acting like the entire world is just a Dragon Quest game.
Yeah.
So all your characters get different job classes. You go to like a temp agency basically. It's like a temp agency that helps people that are like down on their luck, homeless, out of work, that sort of thing. And based on your character level and your bond with the character, they unlock different jobs. And like different characters have a leaning towards different jobs, and they all have unique jobs that they start the game with. So like Ichiban doesn't start as, but his like unique class is hero. Your one friend that's homeless, his unique class is homeless guy. The one girl that you recruit through the story is what is her default? Like bartender or something like that. But her stronger class is idol, where she fights with a microphone. Right now, my microphone looks like a popsicle and causes freeze. But the idol is basically the white mage of the group. Yeah. So they get like their job skills are all healing based or like buff and debuff. And then you have like fortune teller and musician, and there's one other one I'm drawing a blank on that are more like your offensive magic classes. So like the musician, from the way that the description describes it, it's basically a bard. Like you kind of have like a little bit of attack, a little bit of healing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then you have stuff like enforcer, where you're literally just a cop in like riot gear. You fight with a shield and a police baton. Or bodyguard, I think is the other one, where you fight with a fucking katana. You just go around cutting people. But probably my favorite one that I've gotten so far, there's one character, she's the secret character, I guess you'd call. You only unlock her if you do like a side minigame thing that I'll talk about in a second. Her default job class though is like clerk, like a store clerk. She fights with a fucking box cutter. So like all of her attacks are just her running up with a box cutter and just cutting people with it. And then one of her special moves, not special moves, one of her like skills is it's the potential to instill fear in all enemies. It's her looking scared and then pulling out her phone and holding it up and saying she's going to call the cops. Because it's fucking weird.
Yeah.
Real weird. But like good weird.
This game sounds like super weird but super awesome at the same time.
No, yeah, that's exactly what it is. Like Ichiban just got a move because of one of the side games in there, where I literally pull out a stack of money and beat the person over the face with it. Because why not, right?
You know, a stack of money, if you've got enough of it and you hit them hard enough, that could hurt.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're right. Like, a stack of money can definitely do some damage. Plus, it's paper. Like, you do it sideways, maybe you get some paper cuts in there.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's like this over-the-top zany bullshit, but it's also very granular and in-depth, and, you know, you can't just go into that game with everyone as an attack class. Like, you have to think about the job classes and sort of change them up. Mm-hmm. And you have two sets of levels. So you have your character level, but then you also have your job rank. So your job rank unlocks new skills as you go up, but every time your job rank goes up, you also get more, like your stats go up too. So your health, your attack, your defense, all that stuff. So like at the point I'm at now, my characters are in like the mid-20s, and most of my job ranks are in like the high teens. If I were to change a character to a new job, they are taking a significant stat decrease at that point, because they're going to get taken down all the way to job rank 1.
Yeah.
The good news is, like, because of the way the map's laid out, you can just run around the map and find people that want to fight you. And the map's sort of broken up into, like, sections. So if you go to one of the like, later sections that's, like, further into the city, the enemies are higher level. So, you know, a few matches and suddenly your job rank has at least gotten up into, like, you know, double digits.
Yeah.
So you're not going into, like, a story mission just completely fucked. But so, other than job classes, this game also has summons. Even though you're just kind of running around the streets as an ex-Yakuza, an ex-cop, a homeless dude, and a fucking bartender. So, at one point in the game, and I actually didn't realize these were summons at first. At one point in the game, you get a flyer from somebody for this thing called Pound Mates. Poundmates. It looks like an escort service flyer. Like 100%, that's what the flyer looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And the one character thinks that's what it is too, and wants to call them up. So he calls them up, and this real big, muscular black dude with spike balls for fists shows up. And it's a big miscommunication at first, and then he explains it's like, oh no, I'm here to help you beat somebody up if like somebody's messing with you. So yeah, that's when you find out that Pound Mates is actually like it's basically the call a friend. The first time you summon somebody, it's free. Every time after that, they have like different costs. They also have like different stipulations. So you unlock different ones a lot of times by side quests. You help somebody in a side quest, and sometimes they will then become like a summon you can bring in. Some of them do damage. Some of them do debuffs to the enemy. Some of them buff like your team, restore your health and magic, like all those sorts of things. At the moment, I've got the big black dude with the spike ball fists. I've got a Yakuza captain that likes to dress like a baby and be babied by somebody. And I mean, like, full on, like, he wears a diaper and a bib and cries for a bottle. And when you summon him, it's like a debuff to the enemies. I've got... who else do I have? I've got a soup kitchen girl who shows up, and I believe she's the one that heals me. I saved a crawfish from being eaten by a homeless man, so now I can summon the crawfish, and it literally makes crawfish rain from the sky. And they look like lobsters, though. So I don't know if it's just a bad localization or if crawfish are just much bigger. But, yeah, crawfish rain from the sky. They do damage to the enemies and also have a chance of poisoning them.
Okay.
The one I haven't used yet is there's a chicken that I can summon. It's the mascot for the company I now own. That is only available during the day. So like I was saying, some of them are only available during the day or at night. Some of them will only attack humans. So like there's like, little intricacies to it. But they're just always really stupid, and the animation for it is Ichiban pulls out his phone and he says like it's time to call a friend, and he starts swiping his phone, very like RPG, like over the top, like I'm going to cast a magic spell sort of thing.
Yeah.
Which just makes it more fun. But yeah, so the other thing is they have all those side quests and mini games in here. So all the side quests are like help people for a while, and eventually like you'll help solve their problem. Sometimes they become, like I said, they'll become a summon for you, or they'll give you something else. One of the side games that you actually get as part of the story is to help this company kind of like fight their way back up to the ranks. They used to be like a big like snack company, and then the owner died, the daughter took over, didn't know what she was doing, took advice from the wrong person who was actually out to like fuck up that business. And they just like plummeted. They're down into like this one little rinky-dink shop and everything. Somehow Ichiban becomes the president of the company. Mm-hmm. And it's a management sim from there. Like full on, like you go in, you have to hire employees based on like stats, assign them to the stores. As you make more money, you have to invest in more properties so that you can keep your income up. Move your employees between the different businesses, like all that sort of stuff. And then it's like you actually, like, you do all that stuff to, like, maximize profit, and then you run the business for a day, and you find out how much money you make from that day of business, and then you reinvest that in, like, upgrading your employees, like, giving them raises, giving them, like, promotions, training them so that their stats improve, improving the overall, like, parts of the stores themselves so that they can then have a higher income coming back to them. And after you do that a couple of times, you then have to go to a stockbroker meeting or a shareholder meeting where you have to basically like turn-based battle against the shareholders to make them sit down. Yeah, so like you get like it's almost like an ATB sort of fight, like a Final Fantasy VII like active time battle.
Yeah,
where all of the enemies are like, or your shareholders have like a little thing that's filling up. If they fill up, they just start asking their question whether you're ready or not. And then you have a team of 4 employees that can, like, argue for the company. But they have, like, a shared pool of energy. So anytime you use one of them, the energy drops. And each one has, like, a different amount of energy that they use. But they also have a different, like, power ranking for, like, how much damage they'll do based on the type of question that's being asked. So it gets, like, they do a really bad job of explaining it. and it gets super intricate, like, the further you get into it. So it's one of those, like, trial by fire things. I spent about 6 hours so far doing this management sim, though.
That's amazing. I love, like, sim games and shit like that, and, like, I want to get this game just so I can do that. Like, I don't care if I beat the game or whatever. I want to get to that point and just do that.
Yeah, like, you start out, like, around, I think your company rank starts around, like, 200 or something like that. It's over 150. And you meet a dude earlier in the game, right after you get out of prison, who you help him with some dudes that were roughing him up, and he turns out to be, like, a kind of a cool rich dude who invests in a lot of businesses. So you call him up, he gives you, like, your like, investment money so that you can help the business get back up, but he gives you, like, all these, stipulations, like, you need to do this, this, and this in this amount of time. And, like, one of the stipulations was I had, like, 4 shareholder meetings to get the company to at least rank 100.
Yeah.
Which isn't super hard if you can wrap your head around the way everything works. Like, as long as you can win the shareholder meetings each time, you jump, like, 10 to 20 levels at a time at that point.
Yeah.
So as long as you can do that and then, like, have these stores, like, have your properties do well in, like, the interim, where you're, like, gaining a couple ranks, like, each workday, you get down there okay. But, like, as it plays out, like, you start getting, like, hit with, like, corporate espionage and stuff like that, where, like, this other company is, like, out to get you, so they're sending, like, their, like, big-time people into these shareholder meetings to try and, like, fuck it up for you. It's really crazy and weird. But every time you do well, the rich dude gives you more money to invest in the company, because he believes in you.
Yeah.
So at this point, like, I went from the rinky-dinky little shop office to now they're in, like, this giant, like high-rise, like, building in, like, the northern part of the city.
Mm-hmm.
Which is good and bad, because before the little office was super close to where, like, all of the things I need to go to are. So, like, the places to, like, get healed up, to, like, buy certain things, to hit the ATM, to do the bonding stuff with your team. Now it's, like, on the polar opposite side of the map. So it's, like, kind of like a trudge to get over there.
Yeah.
But yeah, this game is stupid. It's got Mario Kart in it.
Nice. One
of the mini games that you unlock, is Mario Kart. Like, but it's Ichiban driving, like, this cart on this track where, like, you pick up power-ups, and there's a bunch of, like, other racers out to get you.
Is there a blue shell?
I haven't seen a blue shell. There's so it's more, like, quote-unquote realistic weapons. So the turtle shells are actually rocket launchers.
Yeah.
You do have something that gives you a boost, which I'm assuming is supposed to be, like, nitrous or something like that. It looks like there's one of them is a lightning bolt, but I can't figure out what the lightning bolt does because I already have two things every time I see one.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't been able to actually pick one of those up to see what it does. But yeah, that game, there have been a lot of really good games that came out this year. Like we had Final Fantasy and The Last of Us and Animal Crossing and Demon's Souls and all that stuff.
Yeah.
This might be my favorite game of the year, though.
Nice.
And Ichiban may be the best protagonist in video games ever.
Why is that?
So he's a Yakuza, which means he's inherently a bad guy. Like, he's a criminal. But he's, like, the goodest fucking guy. Like, one of the side quests right now is I'm protecting a fucking tree with a random persimmon on it because this little girl thinks that if the persimmon falls off the tree, she'll die.
Oh.
Yeah, so, like, every time he goes by this tree, he's fighting these fucking wackos that keep hitting the tree with things. Just to make sure this little girl can go get her surgery and not die of, like, whatever disease she has.
Those freaking assholes. Stop hating trees. I don't know why people would hit trees.
Yeah, like, every single person that's doing it has some, like, bullshit reason for it, and then immediately wants to fight Ichiban over it. Which, I mean, that's just how the game goes.
Yeah.
But, like there was even a point where, like, you go to get a burger, you go to eat the burger, and there's, like, this kid eating by himself. Some, like, asshole tries to, like, rough him up. You beat up that guy, and then you end up, like, hanging out with the kid. And you just keep going back and having dinner with this kid so that he doesn't have to eat by himself because his mom's working.
Oh.
Yeah. Like, he's like a criminal, but he's got the biggest fucking heart.
Yeah.
But yeah, Yakuza's real fucking good. I'm like 27, 28 hours in right now. I think I'm about halfway through based on, like, when I looked at how long to beat, like, the completionist is, like, right around 50 hours. I'm definitely not going to do everything because some of the little, one of the extra things you can do is called this, like, part-time hero stuff, where you'll get little odd jobs, collecting things, saving people, like stuff like that. And some of them are just really weird and obscure and would actually take more effort than is worth than like the reward you get for doing them. Mm-hmm. And like not fun effort. It's like, all right, I have to run to all these different places and maybe somebody will have this thing for me to.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Did you listen to the Bombcast this week?
I did. I know that it sounded like Ben was getting a little down on the game.
It sounds like everyone in Giant Bomb who's played it has hit a point where it flips, and I'm curious what that point is and why.
But it's funny, because the people at GameSpot fucking love it. There's like 4 people I follow on Twitter from GameSpot that like are just raving about it all the time.
I wonder if they're still haven't hit that point that Ben and Alex hit.
No, most of them have finished it.
Oh, okay.
Like, they're done the game. They're just still raving about it. I mean, honestly, like, most of the people at Giant Bomb don't really like turn-based RPGs.
I mean, fair, I guess, but I mean...
And that's very much what this is.
Yeah, but, like, Ben, for the last, like, month has been incredibly enthusiastic about that game, and then this week just sounded like he doesn't know if he's gonna finish it.
Yeah, and I mean, from the way he was talking, like, at a certain point, like most RPGs, you hit a boss that's just stronger than you expect them to be. And then you have to go grind, and, like, grinding in that game's not fun, because if it's not a story-based, like, boss or, like, other major fight, the experience is very low for it. So I could see, like, having to run around the city and just fight a bunch of people to, like, move your level up would probably suck. But, like, that's kind of what RPGs are at a certain point. Like, turn-based ones anyway. Like, Dragon Quest, your, like, older Final Fantasies, like, that's unfortunately just... That is a thing that they build into those games every fucking time.
Yeah.
Just like...
I mean, I don't know what happens in this, or what happened that had Ben and Alex turn, and I'm just curious how...
Yeah, I mean, from what Ben said, it was he hit a point that he couldn't beat a boss without grinding, and that was sort of what was turning him off.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hear what Alex... Like, obviously Alex wasn't on there, so I don't know what his actual complaint with it was. But I know, like, Alex really liked the other games that were the more beat-em-up style. So I could see at a certain point having sort of those JRPG tropes kind of get in the way of everything could sort of sour an opinion. I prefer the JRPG over the beat-em-up.
Mm-hmm.
So, we'll see. Like I said, I think I'm about halfway, so I've still got a ways to go.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, I just fought a crane with a wrecking ball.
That's weird.
Yeah, well, one of the story missions was a shitty Yakuza dude jumped into a crane and started swinging a wrecking ball at me. So I had to beat the wrecking ball until he fell out of it. Then I could fight him, and then he got back in the wrecking ball, and I had to, fight the wrecking ball again.
That's dumb.
No, it's great. Because, like, the wrecking ball, when he used it, like, the regular attack was just swinging it at you. So, one of your in combat, you can do, like, a guard if you time it just right to, like, minimize damage. But you had to hit it twice. Otherwise, the thing would come back and hit you from behind. But you just have to kind of guesstimate when it's going to hit you from behind, because you don't move your characters in combat, so you can't see behind you.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of, it's like, alright, it's been gone for like 3 seconds, let me hit B now and see what happens. So, yeah. I like that game, though. Anyway, you, Rich, you also have played Spider-Man Miles Morales. Did you finish that, or did you just start it?
I just started it. I bought it after I beat everything that I beat over the weekend. And it's good, but after playing like 2 hours, I'm just like, I don't want to play this right now. Like, it's an open world game. It's very open world. So you've got all of New York. I just got past where they showed in the demo, like the attack or whatever on the bridge. I just passed that. So I'm like really early on in the game. And I don't know if it's just like, I blew myself out playing games over the past week and having had beaten 3 games. One of them being Demon Souls, that like, right now no game really stands up, but like, if this is a good game and it is fun. But it's just like, when I sit down to play it, sometimes I'm just like, I don't really know if I want to play this right now. But like, Miles, he's different. He's not Spider-Man. He's got different abilities.
But he is Spider-Man.
Well, he is Spider-Man, but he's not Pete, is what I mean. So like, Pete was all about using the gadgets and everything, whereas Miles, he's more about using his Venom Blast. And like,
yeah, I heard one of the side missions is him having to go and like restart a lot of generators.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, there's been, I've had one or two missions where it's like, there was one mission in particular, there was a fire, and like, instead of like Miles going to the firehouse and being like, hey, there's a fire, you might want to take care of it, the EMT tells Miles, the communications are down, get them back up. And then you have to swing 500 meters this way to get to a generator, beat up a bunch of enemies, and power it with his Venom Blast. And then you have to swing 600 meters the other way, going 300 meters past where the fire was, like, to take care of a generator over here. And then you have to swing back to where the fire was to talk to the EMT. And I was just like, it's a very much an open world style of,
just like the first one.
Yeah, and like I feel like it sounds like I'm talking down on it. I'm not. It is fun, but it's at the moment right now. I don't really know if it's something that I want to play, but I felt like I had to because I bought it. Like I was kind of sort of felt like I was pressured into buying it after I beat all those games, where I was actually originally going to buy Hyrule Warriors over this, but then decided to buy this for some reason. And like what I've done and how far I've gotten, I'm interested and I'm pulled in, but it's also like the style of gameplay I'm not really into right now. But like the other part is like the villain. I'm trying to say this without spoiling it, but I'm so glad they basically told you who the villain was when they introduced the villain, because I guessed who the villain was as soon as I saw the villain. But then like within a minute they let you know like who I guessed who the villain was is right. And I'm like, good, I'm glad, because I didn't want there to be that whole, well, is he going to find out who the villain is during the entire time? Because that would have made the game really bad, because I already knew who the villain was, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get that.
And there's a lot to do, there's a lot of collectibles. It's very much the same as the first the original Spider-Man. A lot of collectibles, a lot of like challenge missions, a lot of suit upgrades. You need to go do activities in order to get the tokens to build up the suits. You can redo crimes now because they give you like the side objectives, and doing more of the side objectives actually gives you more tokens. So like some of the crimes I give you the side objectives, and if you don't do that, if you don't do the side objectives, you can go into your phone and go back to that crime and retry it to get more of the tokens. I'm trying to think, like I have two gadgets right now, or I just have the web shooter, and he gets a like a hologram shooter that he gets as well. I have those. Like I said, I'm still really early in the game. How you use his Venom Blast is pretty cool. It's you hit L1, and then it's a combination of one of the other face buttons. So like L1 and square, he does a punch. L1 and square and X, he jumps up into the air and pounds down. L1 and circle and triangle or something like that, he does something else. Like, and then you can, if you're like swinging around and you hit L1 and X, he like jumps higher, or he gets like a little bit higher of a jump or something like that. It's cool. I just got his stealth capabilities right before I stopped playing last night. And I ran around with that like once or twice. Like I used it. You have to collect these time capsules that him and his friend had placed throughout the city. And one of them, there was a guy standing right next to it, and it was an active work site. So you couldn't be there, so you had to stealth and walk up to it and stealth and grab it. And when you grab it, the guy's like, "Oh, there's a ghost here. I knew it. We're haunted." And then you get the time capsule. And I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. But yeah, it's straight up. It is Spider-Man, but it's with Miles Morales.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to playing it someday when PlayStation 5s exist.
Yeah,
because it's one of those things where I could get it on PS4, but I want to play it where it looks and plays the best.
Yeah,
and like honestly, there's no hope of getting a PS5 in the near future, so it's not like one of those things where it's like, well, I could start it on PS4 and finish it on PS5. Like,
yeah, no, I get that. Like, I'm hoping that like just as I play it, I start to like get more into it. It is a good game, but like I don't know. There's just something about it right now that I'm just like, I kind of want to just stop playing it and get Hyrule Warriors, but I already spent so much money over the past couple of weeks that I don't want to spend more. And I want to do Christmas gifts first. So I might take a break and go into Squadrons and play a lot more of that before I jump back to this. But it is a good game. It's fun. But if you really like Spider-Man, you'll like this.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to playing it someday.
Yeah, yeah. I think you would like it.
So I watched a little bit of a video on Hyrule Warriors. It definitely looks like just another one of those games, but the non-Link characters actually look like they have some interesting playstyles. So you'll probably actually enjoy it a lot.
Well, yeah, Link has multiple playstyles because you can swap out his weapon loadout.
No, I just meant like by default, like out of the gate, like Zelda and Impa both seem to actually be pretty cool to play. Like they are not just kind of like different weapons. Like they actually have different like everything.
Because I played the demo, I liked Impa. I did not like Zelda. I thought Zelda was clunky and boring. Because she's using the Sheikah Slate and the abilities from the Sheikah Slate. Yeah. So like I didn't like it. But Impa was really cool because like each of the characters in that, they have their own battle mechanics, and Impa like builds up a bar and then can cast spells and like can duplicate herself 4, 5, 6 times, and like she's really cool. And then Link is like, you can change out his weapon loadout, and he's pretty cool as well. Yeah,
like I said, like we talked about before, those games are not interesting to me, but I thought that the way that those characters played at least looked more interesting than your standard Musou game.
Yeah, I can get that.
Where were we? There we are. So this one was fucking wild. Rich, I know you sent this to us. I had seen it like earlier in the day. I'm just like, what the fuck are they? I didn't read it. I just saw the headline. I didn't read it until you had sent it to us.
Yeah, I read it before I sent the headline. I was like, are you fucking kidding? Like, I didn't know this is dumb. I hate it. Yeah. Like, that was my exact reaction.
So Kadabra, the second form in the Abra evolution chain of Pokemon, apparently has not been a Pokemon card since 2003. Yeah. It is now able to be a Pokemon card again.
Yeah. I had no idea that was a thing.
Yeah, neither did I. So back in the year 2000, 20 years ago, illusionist Uri Geller sued Nintendo over Kadabra's likeness to him and wanted him removed from Pokemon cards. Kadabra's Japanese name has a couple of variations to how it's like spelled. Yoon-ger and Young Geller are like 2 variations, and the second one definitely, has a bit of a resemblance to his last name.
Yeah.
In the fact that like Geller is his last name. And then Uri Geller is also like his like sort of claim to fame in the whole illusion thing is bending spoons with his mind.
Mm-hmm.
And Kadabra holds a spoon that he's bent with his mind. Alakazam holds 2.
Yeah.
So after 20 years, Geller has given Nintendo permission to use Kadabra again on the cards. He apparently sent a letter that was received by multiple representatives of Nintendo, so it's like kind of in their court now. And he also made like a public statement, like apologizing basically for ever doing it in the first place.
Yeah.
Apparently, from what I was reading, since 2003, when they've released Abra and Alakazam, they've either released it in a way where Abra just evolved directly to Alakazam, or special Alakazam cards that had no pre-evolution.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys remember how Pokemon cards worked, but like you couldn't play a Charizard unless you had a Charmander and a Charmeleon and enough energy to evolve each of them.
Yeah.
So like to have like a level, like a 3rd evolution card that you can just drop is, that's something, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little confused why this dude only wanted Kadabra removed from the cards. Like I couldn't really find like an explanation for that.
Yeah, that's definitely a confusing thing.
Like, did he not know it was a video game?
I think it would probably more be, like, the card is more accessible in a way, I guess. Like, how often have you seen Kadabra in the Pokemon anime, or even, like, as a main lead character in the games? Like, I don't think Abracadabra and Alakazam were in Sword and Shield. Yeah. But I don't know.
I think they're all in Pokemon Go?
Yeah. I think it has more to do specifically with the spoon and less to do with the actual character. And, like, probably, let's say the original Kadabra, what he looked like.
He had a spoon.
Yeah.
Like, the original sprite was him with a bent spoon, and then Alakazam had two.
Well, I mean the Kadabra card.
Oh, no, he had the spoon on that, too.
Yeah, so it was him standing there with his one hand up and the spoon up. Like, maybe it was also in, like, a stance that Yuri did? I really don't know.
Apparently that guy is kind of a douchebag anyway.
Yeah.
Like, he's a complete fraud. Apparently it was either in the late 70s or early 80s. He was scheduled to be on the Johnny Carson show. And I didn't know this. Apparently Johnny Carson was like a bit of an amateur magician himself. And knew that this guy was a fucking fake. So they asked him what his act entailed, got all of the items he would need to do his act that weren't his items, and asked him to do them on the spot.
Yeah.
And he was not able to do any of his tricks.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently that actually made him more famous because people that, like, believed in that shit thought that it was more realistic that he wouldn't be able to do it all the time.
Yeah.
Which is just like, why are people so stupid? Why are they so goddamn stupid?
Like, magic is cool and all, but, like, you gotta realize that it is fake. But, like, the crazy thing is, he even said the reason he sued them was, like, Nintendo turned him into an occult Pokemon character and stole his identity by using his name and his signature image. So I Googled to find, like, his, quote, signature image to see if it looked like the Kadabra card, and I can't find his signature image.
Because it's honestly probably just a guy with a bent spoon is his signature image.
Yeah. Like, any image I see of him is him holding a spoon, like, trying to bend it with his mind and stuff. It's just, he just seems like a complete douche. Maybe less of a douche now, because he's like, yeah, sorry. Like, he actually did apologize.
Yeah, I mean, part of that might also just be, like, he is completely out of, like, the public awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I had never heard of him before.
No, neither have I, and I'm, like, really into magic-y, illusion-y stuff.
But, like, back in the, like, 80s, apparently he was pretty big. So I'm assuming, like, even into the 90s, he was at least relatively well-known.
Yeah.
But, you know, like, at this point in 2020, like, you know, you can see more interesting close-up magic, like, on, like, that Netflix show, the Magic for Humans, right? That's what it's called, right?
Yes.
Where it's like, you know that those are, like, they're all tricks. Like, sometimes he actually shows you how he's doing the tricks. But, like, it's just cool to see.
Yeah, and there's, like, even better magic shows on Netflix, like Death by Magic, and even, well, it's not even really a magic show, but The Push. Any of I can't remember the guy's name, Daryl something. He's got some really good shows. Because he did one where it was, he pretended to be an evangelist, but then, like, and got a bunch of people in who believed in that stuff, and then first thing was like, yeah, I'm not an evangelist, I'm not a healer, I'm gonna do magic. And just does magic for these people.
Nice.
Yeah, I want to watch that. I've never watched.
So Rich, you also this week finished Bugsnax.
Yes, it was a busy week. It was a busy weekend, but also at the same time, like, I was at the end of all of these games that I beat when I got into beating them. So it wasn't like I spent hours upon hours beating them, except for Demon Souls. It was like it was one more play session after last time we talked and the time that I beat it. But I did beat Bugsnax. That game is super fun, and my god, does it take a turn, story-wise. You find out that every character is kind of, like, depressed and left the world that they knew because no one liked them, or something, or they saw themselves a failure, and man, it was a rough story. You find out the mystery of the Bugsnax and why they're there, and how they come out, how they breed. The mystery of the island, it kind of opens it up for sequels. I got all of the legendary Bugsnax. The worst one was the birthday cake. I don't know, Drew, did you watch? I think you said Sarah beat it, but she didn't do the legendaries.
I don't know that. I don't know what exactly she didn't, but she did also start replaying it. Yeah.
I thought about trying to platinum it, but it's a game that I enjoy, but the platinums I don't care to do for this, or the trophies to platinum it I don't care to do, because it's a lot of work, stupid, repetitive work. Because, like, some of the trophies are like, feed all the Bugsnax to every villager, and there's like, what is it, 12 villagers, something like that, and you give them 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, I think, give or take, 14 snacks each. So that's a lot of Bugsnax catching you have to do to feed the entire village all of the bug snacks. So I was like, I don't feel like doing that. Some of them are like, feed a character only these snacks. Or have them look just like this. And I was like, I don't care. But it is like, it's not that I don't care about the game, it's I don't care about the trophies, because they're just dumb. But I wanted to platinum it, but I just didn't care to do those trophies.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also, you can't, like, once you beat the game, you have to start a new game. You can't, like, unless you can, like, go back to your save before you beat it.
Yeah.
Like,
you hit a spot where it's like, no, you can't go complete any of the other things once you do this.
Yeah, so, like, I was just like, alright, well, if I could have, like, kept the save and then just gone back to it at some point, or just gone back to the game after beating it, then I would have done it eventually. But did it take a turn? And then was it really weird and interesting? And, like, I liked it. I liked it a lot. That, like, I hope they do some sort of sequel or DLC or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they left it completely open for a sequel. The history of the island is totally weird, and the idea behind the bug snacks is kind of weird as well. And I felt bad for all the characters, because they're all just, like, outcasts.
Well, that's a little rude.
They are, though.
They are. Yeah.
Like, and it's just, it makes you, like, feel for them, and, like, it is a very emotional thing, and, I watched a video today of, developers watching a speedrun of Bugsnax. They beat the game in 18 minutes. And the developers are like, we put so much, 4 years of work into this game, and all of those, like, emotional narrative beats you don't even see. Like, we're annoyed that there's so many bugs that we left in this game that we didn't notice or we didn't know about, or, like, not even bugs, but area skips. But, like, you lose so much of the game by just not playing it. And they're like, it sucks.
But the thing is, like, speedrunning is a different thing. Like, people don't speedrun a game to actually experience the narrative.
Yeah.
Like, people speedrun a game because they like the game enough that they want to be able to play it as optimally as possible.
Yeah. And it's like, there was one point, it's the end of the game, that, like, in order to speedrun Bugsnax, the only thing you can't skip is, like, the gauntlet, the final sequence of the game. You cannot skip it. So, like, that takes, like, 7 minutes. So most of the time is just the very friggin' end of the game.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah. And I forgot what load screens were like, and then I watched this, and they played it on their PC, and I was like, oh shit, this game has load screens.
Yeah, and I have not played anything on the PS4 since I started playing stuff on the Xbox.
Yeah.
Just because, I played Squadrons that one time. And it's like, man, waiting for this stuff to, like, load and everything is awful. How did we do this for so long?
Yeah. It's funny, because, like, I was watching it, and in order for them to get through the speedrun, there are 4 or 5 load screens they have to go through. And every time they jump through a load screen, I was like, God, this is terrible. I'm so glad I played it on a game that on a system that didn't have load screens, because I don't know if I would have kept playing if I had to load that much.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, because, like, in Bugsnax, it's every area you go to, you have to load between areas. Mm-hmm. And on the PS5, it loads so fast that, like, it fades to black and comes back almost immediately. Whereas, like, on the PC or on other systems, it fades to black, shows a load screen, and then fades from black to the game again. So, and, like, it wasn't long load times, but it was still, like, have to cut that screen so many times because you're doing so many side quests that, like, are really quick. It was sucked. But it is a fun game. It's a very interesting, weird ending. I really liked the whole, like, catching the Bugsnax. It was a lot different. And the legendaries were really cool to fight, except for the fucking birthday. Oh, that birthday cake sucked. Because, like, it moved around. It was, like, a crab or, like, a spider. I think, was it, like, cakey long legs or something like that? I can't remember. But it was, like, kind of like a spider, and it would have 2 candles on it that you would have to light by putting one of your gadgets onto a fire and firing the gadget to the candle. But if you didn't time it right, or if you didn't have the candle aimed, like, once you targeted onto the candle, it stayed on there as the snack moved. But if you don't fire it at the right time, he'll move away before the fire gets to the candle. and it was just like, I got so, like, frustrated during that fight, and that was the only one. The watermelon, the pizza moth, and the maki roll, like, those were all easy, but the friggin' birthday cake just sucked.
Yeah, that sounds rough.
Yeah, it was awful. But yeah, it was such a cute game. It was. I smile anytime I think about that game.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And then, Drew, you're not actually playing it yourself. Sarah's playing it?
I mean, I had been playing it, but I was letting Sarah kind of finish it before I played. I didn't want to spoil any of it for her.
Okay.
She was super into it. But, yeah, I'm, like, halfway-ish in it. But then, like, she, like, super powered through it in one weekend. Or at a point in one weekend.
Yeah, because it's not very long, right?
It doesn't seem to be very long.
I mean, it also kind of depends on how you play.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't do all the side quests, then it can be pretty linear and straightforward. If you're like me and you do the side quests, it might take a couple of hours longer.
But I mean, it's like at most like a 10-hour game, right?
Probably. Maybe.
Yeah, like, Sarah did all the side quests. The only thing she didn't do was catch every single one of the bug snacks. So, and I don't know, I feel like she probably played for like 6 or 7 hours to beat it, but I don't know exactly.
It's not the website I want. How Long to Beat has main plus extras 10.5 hours. Main story 8, completion is 13.
Okay. So, that seems about right then.
Yeah.
Because, like, the game's new enough, too, that, like, that time is going to adjust as more people play it and, like, go onto that website and say how long it took them.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So, I watched Queen's Gambit over the weekend. Have you guys seen this or seen what this is?
It is the chess show, right?
Yeah.
With the girl, and she becomes, like, a drug addict or something?
Yes. So, it's a limited series on Netflix.
Yeah.
It's set in the mid-1950s through the late 1960s. And it's about a young girl who, when she's like 9 years old, both of her parents die in like a car accident.
Yeah.
That her mom may or may not have done on purpose. And she ends up having to go to an all-girls Christian orphanage. Like, very like 1950s, like they all kind of wear like a uniform. They have to go to like church study and all that stuff throughout the day. And early on, they're all given a vitamin and a tranquilizer every day, and they're told that they're not told it's a tranquilizer. They're just simply told that it is it's something to ease their disposition.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, she at 9 years old she becomes addicted to tranquilizers.
Yeah.
But then yeah, she ends up also being like a chess prodigy. She stumbles upon the janitor in the basement playing against himself, and convinces him to like show her, and he's a bit of an asshole, and so is she. But after like 2 games, she starts beating him and never loses to him again.
Yeah.
And then proceeds to like I think throughout the whole series she only loses maybe 3 or 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
But it's basically her sort of life story through like mid-teenage years. Like I think they jump her to like age 15 when she gets out of the orphanage through like her like early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And her kind of like climb in like the world of chess.
Yeah.
Going from like going to her first tournament and not understanding what the clock is for, to going to foreign countries to play like the top rated players in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And like there's a whole bunch of people that like she meets along the way and like develops like relationships with, like friendships. And you know, there's points where like the drugs and alcohol are fucking her up, and then she gets off of them and then gets back onto them, and you know, lots of up and down. It is absurdly compelling though.
Yeah. It's on my list. I want to watch it. I'm really interested.
Yeah, I mean, it's only 7 episodes. They're all less than an hour, you know, or I think the first 2 might be like just over an hour, but they're like those Netflix like 50-ish minutes most of the time.
Yeah.
The cast is really good in the whole thing. Not a lot of like super famous people. But like, so you watched all of Game of Thrones, right? Right, Rich?
Yes.
Do you remember the brother and sister that find Bran when Bran is sort of like on the run after the fall of Winterfell, and like the brother has some sort of like weird like prophetic dreams?
Yeah.
That actor is in the show quite a bit.
Okay.
But, like, you know, he's like, you know, he was on a few seasons of that show a few years ago. I don't really know him from anything else.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was surprisingly interesting. Like, it had been getting a whole lot of, like, press, and it's apparently, like, Netflix's most watched limited series of all time. I actually saw something online earlier where, like, the membership base of chess.com has multiplied by 5.
Jeez.
Like,
So
searches...
there's like 20 now.
Yeah, so, like, searches for, like, chess and how to play chess are up, like, 200-300% on Google searches, like, just stuff like that, you know, that Netflix effect.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would definitely say, like, if you guys have time, like, check that show out. The first episode isn't quite as, like, the first episode is actually really good when she's, like, the little girl. It's not really indicative of the rest of the show, though. But, like, from episode 2 on, she is a little older, so it's the same actress through everything. And it's kind of watching her kind of just be a person, but also not really, it's not like she's a shitty person, but she's bad at being a person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's like that hyper-focused, only knows how to deal with chess, that's like all she cares about.
Yeah.
Like, she's never necessarily, like, awful to people, per se. She's just kind of awful to herself.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I kind of hope that they do a sequel to it at some point. I don't know if they could or how they could, but it would be interesting.
Yeah. I plan on watching it, probably after I'm finished The Office.
For the last time.
And that's exactly why I'm watching The Office. Is I was like, oh shit, not gonna get to watch The Office for a long time after this month. Gonna actually, like, normally I put it on as background noise. I'm actually watching it this time.
How far into it are you?
Season 2. I literally just started, like,
okay,
a few days ago. Yeah.
All right. So The Last of Us TV series has officially gotten a green light at HBO.
Sweet.
Yep. So I think it was announced back in the spring that it was in development.
Mm-hmm.
But now, like, it's going to series. Like, they are going to make something out of it.
Yeah.
It's being written by Craig Mazin, who worked on that Chernobyl miniseries from like a year-ish ago.
Yeah, that I heard nothing but good things about.
Yeah, apparently, like, it was super entertaining. I keep meaning to watch it and keep forgetting that it exists because I don't open up HBO that often.
I don't know if I can emotionally handle it, which is why I haven't watched it, because I know it's really rough.
God, just grow up. It's just a TV show. You'll be fine.
You never know, man. You never know.
No, I know for a fact it is just a TV show and you'll be fine.
But it's based on real life.
I mean, debatable. We don't actually know what it's about.
It's about Chernobyl plant explosion.
I mean, is that actually what it's about?
Yeah.
Okay, then, I mean, yes, that happened. But look, that whole area infested with puppies now.
Yeah, like, freaking, what's the word? Radioactive puppies.
Yeah, but they're not, like, radioactive, like, roaches from Fallout. Like, they're literally just cute little puppies running around the woods.
What if this is how we get werewolves? Is by being bit by radioactive puppies.
I mean, I'm sure people have already been bit by them because people are stupid.
It's really hard. Actually, no. They're doing tours now because they're almost done or are done. The dome around the... It's really stupid to go to Chernobyl right now. Don't do it.
Well, I mean, right now you can't. But no, I mean, it is not... You can't just go and wander around. You have to do it with a group, and you generally can't just go as a person. Like, you have to go for a reason. But, like... Yeah, tons of people go to visit there because it is incredibly interesting.
Yeah.
Like, if you're over in Eastern Europe and you have the means to get, like, on one of those tours, like, you'd kind of be crazy not to. Like, they're safe. They they don't take you into the areas that are still highly contaminated. They make you wear a radiation detector, which I can't think of the name of right now.
Counter.
Thank you. And, like, they tell you, like, hey, if it does this, turn around quickly. And they tell you, like, don't do this, don't do that, don't touch this, don't interact with that.
And that was actually one of the cooler levels in one of the Call of Duty, where you were not running around, you were in a ghillie suit, stealthing around with an epic sniper rifle, because you had to, like, kill someone. I think it was the original Modern Warfare. Might have been Modern Warfare 2, I can't remember though.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know. If you actually are interested in, like, Chernobyl, though, and, like, what it looks like for real, there's a YouTube documentary from Clothmap about Chernobyl that's actually really good. Drew, I don't know if you ever watched it or not.
I did.
It's it's a couple videos. I know there's one short video that's just about the puppies. But then there's longer videos of like the actual tour through Chernobyl and sort of like what it was like, what they kind of had to do to get ready for it, all that sort of thing.
There was an episode in Top Gear, Series 21, which was 5 years ago or something like more than that, where they went to Chernobyl. It was the last challenge in the episode, and they had to. The challenge was they had very economic cars, and the challenge wasn't to get to Chernobyl, it was to run out of gas before you get to Chernobyl. And so, like, they had to do whatever they could to use up all the gas they had. They were all given the same amount. And, one of the guys ran out of gas while in the middle of Chernobyl.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
Though, like, something like that, I'm sure it was not necessarily staged, but, you know, set up to be as safe and, like, non-worrisome as it could be.
Yeah, I'm sure they, like, plotted out a specific route and everything, but, like, they were given, as they got to the gates, two of them went beyond the exclusion zone, and they were both given Geiger counters, and were, like, told, I guess, which way to go, and they were told to just go right into the middle of Chernobyl, turn around and come back, or something like that. Or maybe, like, cut straight through, I can't remember. But there were times where their counters were, like, kind of going off the charts, and we drive through.
Yeah, no, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as The Last of Us TV series goes, so yeah, Craig Mazin and then Neil Druckmann, the creative director at Naughty Dog for the game, are both like involved in the writing of it. There's no casting or anything yet, but reports are that it's going to air against the final season of The Walking Dead,
which is 2 years.
I think it's supposed to be next year, isn't it?
I think they have.
I think season 10 is going to continue this, like, winter, like, in the new year, and I believe season 11 is going to start in the fall.
Yeah, that might be it. Everything got all messed up because of the virus. So.
Yeah, because they pushed off season 10's finale till October. So, like, the second to last episode of season 10 aired back in the spring.
Yeah.
And then the finale aired around Halloween. And then they're going to come back for, like, 10 more episodes of that season throughout the winter, and then do the final 11th season, I guess, next year.
Yeah, so next year. So, I mean, that'll be a really quick turnaround time if they don't have any casting or anything done. Come out by the end of 2021.
I mean, not really. So if it's been in development since the spring, they probably have a lot of, like, the groundwork already set for it. They probably have, like, scripts in the, you know, stages of written. Mm-hmm. They've probably already scouted out locations and stuff to film at. So, and they probably already started the casting process. They just haven't announced who's casted.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, you figure a TV series usually is filming while episodes are still airing. I think, like, HBO is probably a little different for that. But as long as they're filming by the summer, they should have an HBO, like an 8 to 10 episode HBO season done by the fall.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, Mandalorian Chapter 13.
Yes.
That was a big episode. I think the biggest thing out of that episode was they revealed that Baby Yoda has a name.
Yeah, Grogu, right?
Yeah. It's a really weird, dumb name.
I mean, it's an alien name. Like,
well, so the thing I find weird, and I don't remember what that species name.
I don't think
the species doesn't have a name.
It's never gotten a name.
But so in Knights of the Old Republic, there was one of their species on the Jedi Council at that point.
Yeah.
I don't remember what that character's name was, but both of that species that were on the Jedi Council in, like, the prequel era had similar sounding names. It was Yoda and Yaddle, or Yaddle, something like that, the female version.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, Grogu just sounds so different from those names.
Yeah. I'm looking up the council on Dantooine to see if I can find the names.
Oh, that's right. The council was on Dantooine in the Knights of the Old Republic, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Forgot about that. It's been a long time since I played that game.
Well, I googled Knights of the Republic council or Jedi Council, and it was like, it's on Dantooine. I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh, see, I thought you just remembered.
No.
So, other than them revealing the name, we also had the live-action debut of Ahsoka Tano from the Clone Wars and the Rebels cartoons, which I tried watching Clone Wars, and, like, the first season of that show is just not good. I'll get back to it at some point. She's not really anything special in the first season, but to my understanding, like, she becomes really cool as that show and Rebels goes on, and is a huge fan favorite character. So people were super excited to get her in live action.
Yeah. She did good. I really liked like how she played the character.
Yeah, it's Rosario Dawson is playing her.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I thought they did a really good job with introducing like an actual Force user in the show, because like she's not a Jedi anymore. She actually abandoned the Jedi Order. Well, the Jedi Order apparently kind of abandons her, and then when they sort of like rethink it, she basically tells them to go fuck themselves.
Yeah.
And then that's why her lightsabers are white, because she's not a Jedi or a Sith.
Yeah, the lightsabers were so cool. I really liked them. She you're right. She's not a Jedi. She left it. She wrote it off. It's interesting that they never like went searching for her, because I'm sure Vader still would have been like, look for her because she's a Force mother.
So in Rebels, she actually fights Vader and Darth Maul.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's why. I'm trying to remember exactly. So that season of Clone Wars that just happened like last year apparently actually takes place kind of like through the events of Revenge of the Sith.
It does, yeah.
So like basically the fall of Anakin.
Yeah.
And then she ends up actually confronting him as Darth Vader sometime in Rebels.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why like I wrote on the outline here, when she's being asked to take the child and like train him and raise him, she basically says he's too attached to the Mandalorian, and that's dangerous, and like doesn't say his name, but alludes to Anakin being, you know, one of the best Jedi, and because he was trained too late and had all of that fear and anger in him, he fell to the dark side.
Yeah.
And like knowing that she was his Padawan and everything, like it's like that's actually a super sad fucking moment in the show for her to say that.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure she doesn't know that like at the end of his life he actually like came back around.
Yeah.
You and I talked very briefly earlier, and you mentioned that this felt a lot like a backdoor pilot.
Yeah.
I agree.
It definitely felt like very much more a backdoor pilot than it was an episode of Mandalorian. Like, it was introducing Ahsoka to build a world, or build a story around her, and less of a story around her and the child.
Yeah, because I mean, it opens with her taking out a bunch of these like shitty guys. And it also, at the end of the episode, during like the big climactic battle, she name drops Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Yeah.
Who I think he was supposed to be like kind of like the big bad throughout most of Rebels.
Yes.
And Rebels ends sometime after Return of the Jedi. The last season of Rebels apparently has like a time skip near the end,
mm-hmm.
and it goes to post Jedi. And the main Jedi from Rebels takes Thrawn, and like they get lost in like deep space together.
Okay. Like
that's how like he stops Thrawn basically from like taking over the Empire and making everything awful again.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the idea here is that you're supposed to think that Ahsoka is trying to find Thrawn to then find her friend.
Yeah.
Dave Filoni, the guy who he wrote and directed this episode, he's also the creator of Clone Wars and Rebels, said that this episode doesn't necessarily take place in that timeline order. So they never tell you specifically where Rebels ends. We just know that Mandalorian takes place 5 years after Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
So it's possible that this episode is actually before the end of Rebels.
Okay.
Is what they were trying to say. So this would be them hunting for Thrawn to stop him.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that necessarily makes sense, because it definitely seems like the Empire is pretty fucking beat at this point.
Yeah, I mean they're trying to come back. They keep trying to come back, but yeah, you're right. It wouldn't make full sense that like Thrawn is still around, but the Empire is so scattered.
Yeah, because like he would be one of the highest ranking military leaders. And he's a strategic genius. So, like, if he were around, like, the Empire wouldn't be as dwindled as it is.
Yeah.
It's the same way, like, when Thrawn was originally introduced in the 90s in the books, it's post Return of the Jedi, and he shows up from, like, kind of a shitty mission in, like, the Outer Rim, where, like, he didn't really even know what was going on with everything else. And he has, like, one Star Destroyer and, like, the people that, like, man a Star Destroyer, and nearly takes down the entire New Republic just by being a genius.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. I feel like this has to be post all of that stuff, but who knows?
Yeah. The Jedi of Yoda's species in Knights of the Republic is Vandar Tokari.
Wow, so he has a first and a last name. Okay, then. Yeah. But yeah, as far as, like, the backdoor pilot goes, I know they were rumored to be doing something like that.
Yeah.
Like, not rumored to do a backdoor pilot, but rumored that, like, if the episode went well, that they might want to do a spin-off series with her.
Yeah.
And considering the Obi-Wan series would be in a different era, like, they wouldn't be clogging everything up with all the Jedi stuff again, necessarily.
Yeah.
So that could be, that could definitely be interesting. And it could kind of give a little closure, with Anakin. Because you figure, at the end of Jedi, he was a Force ghost. He has that, like, can pop up ability. So they could have some sort of, like, closeout with Anakin and Ahsoka, kind of, like, I don't know, communicating and finding out, like, that he did actually, like, reform in the end.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Yeah.
It seems like these shows take a long time to get anywhere. So...
Yeah, and they take a lot to make. They're really high-budget shows. Like, the prosthetics alone on Rosario Dawson as Ashoka were, like, fantastic. That, like...
People are really upset that they're shorter than they were in the cartoon, though.
I think somebody wrote, like, an article on some website, like, why they were shorter. And I'm like, because it's not a fucking cartoon. Like, it needs to be practical when it's real people moving around. Or, you know what, she's older, and they shrink. Like...
Well, so... And, like, the funny thing is, like, it was the opposite, where, like, in the cartoon, as she got older, they got longer.
Okay.
But, like, yeah, like, you can't have these things that are down to her fucking hips and expect, like, that to actually work okay and not look awful at the same time.
Exactly. Like, they had, like, she moved around a lot. And one thing I was really happy that they did was, like, the lightsaber fighting was very much reminiscent of the original trilogy lightsaber fight. Like, it was a combination of the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy, but it was, like, more of, like, the heavier hitting, slower lightsaber fighting than it was, like, the fast action-paced one in the prequel series.
Which really, like, it would honestly make sense for her to have more of that prequel series style.
Yeah.
Because that's when she was trained.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, in the original trilogy, like, Vader was more man than machine. He couldn't really fight. And Luke didn't know how to fight.
Yeah.
Like, even when he trained with Yoda, like, I never got the impression that Yoda really spent a whole lot of time teaching him how to sword fight.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he didn't. He showed him more the Force in it. Yeah, it was a really cool all around episode.
Yeah, I'm interested to see where they go with this, because you figure it ends with her telling him, like, she can't train the child. Like, he's going to fall to the dark side, basically, if they do that.
Yeah.
But if you're dead set on it, like, here's a Jedi temple, go there, see what happens. Like, if anyone else senses him, they'll probably come looking.
Yeah.
So, like, there's a handful of Jedi left at this point. Like, Luke would be the big one, but unless they cast, like, Sebastian Stan to be a young Luke Skywalker,
yeah,
like, that's not happening.
No.
Because you figure, if this is 5 years after Jedi, he would barely be 30.
Yeah.
And, like, no de-aging is going to make Mark Hamill look like he's 28 again.
No, not at all.
Mm-hmm.
But then there is, like, the kid from Rebels would theoretically still be around, if he manages to get back from, like, deep space. And, the main character from, what's that fucking game? Fallen Order. The one who, the actor from Gotham that played the Joker.
Oh, yeah. Is that game, like, canon?
Yeah, that is actually a canon game.
That would be interesting if they did that.
Yeah, because you figure he survives the game, which takes place before A New Hope. So it's sometime in that gap after Order 66.
Yeah.
But it's like a handful of years later, because in the game they basically show, like, he was kind of like, you know, a young teenager at that point, and now he's like late 20s probably.
Yeah.
So he'd be 10 to 20 years older, depending on, like, how long ago that happened. And And, like, they could definitely put makeup on that actor to make him look like he was in his, like, late 30s, early 40s.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. That'd be cool. I'd have to get Fallen Order. I almost bought that during the Black Friday sale, but then I'm like, I just played a game like this.
Yeah. I liked Fallen Order. It was one of those games where, like, it never quite hooked me, though.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, it was one of those, like, I'd play it for a little while, and then I just wouldn't play it for, like, a long stretch, and then go back to it, and,
yeah.
Like, I haven't been back to it in quite a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited to see where The Mandalorian goes, and just, like, the non-movie side of Star Wars in general.
Yeah. Real quick, sort of related to Mandalorian. Binging with Babish. Man, I can't talk today. Binging with Babish had their episode this week, and they did the cookies that Grogu was eating 2 episodes ago.
Oh, the little macarons?
Yeah. Macaroons.
No, macaroons are the coconuts. They're macarons. MCRONS or something like that.
Anyway, he had Favreau. He had Favreau on, and he was talking about, like, their idea for those, and then he even talked to him and was like, look, these are really rich cookies, so maybe, like, make a less rich version for the normies, because they're also expensive. It was, like, a cool episode, but he showed you how to make them, and then showed you how to make, like, a cheaper, more, like, accessible version for, like, kids to eat, because if they want to be like Baby Yoda. It was really cool.
Yeah, that is actually kind of neat.
Yeah.
But, I mean, like, those cookies also just look like generic versions of those cookies. Like, that color blue is a very common color blue for them.
Oh, yeah, it's easy to make. Like, it doesn't have to be hard to make, but they're expensive and time-consuming, because they're almond flour, which is expensive in general. And they...
Are they always almond flour?
Yeah.
Yes, macarons are almond flour.
They are naturally gluten-free because they're made from almond flour.
Okay, I never realized that.
And after you actually make, like, you have to mix all the dry ingredients, and then you have to whip the egg whites, and then you have to add it all together and mix all that. And then after that, you have to put them on the cookie tray and let them sit out for 45 minutes before you cook them.
Yeah, I don't know if you actually remember or not. One of the parties you had at your house, the Vogels brought, like, a tray with, like, 2 different kinds that they handmade.
Yeah, because they asked I think they asked what they could bring, and I was like, well, if you're going to bring stuff for me, those are really good. And they're like, yeah, sure. So they're really good.
I mean, those type of cookies are good, too.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, they're so good.
So, this is a quick one. Erica and I started watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Nice.
Which I didn't really realize until I started, like, adding it to the outline. That show is fucking 23 years old.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
So, I watched a good chunk of it, like, when it originally aired.
Mm-hmm.
I stopped around the time that she had a random sister show up.
Yeah.
And started fighting God. So, like,
yeah.
I never saw, I think, like, the last 2 seasons. Maybe 3. But, yeah, we started over at season 1. It actually holds up pretty well for, like, a WB show from 1997.
Yeah.
It doesn't look great, because it's definitely, like, it's, 4x3, grainy, dark scenes are kind of hard to make out.
Yeah.
But, like, it's like a fun thing to watch. The vampire prosthetics actually still look really good, too. I'm sure if it was, like, HD and everything, they wouldn't. But being that it's not, like, again, for a TV show in the mid-90s, like, it looks way better than it had any right to look. There is one episode, like, halfway through season 1, though, where they get, like, this big old book that has a demon sealed in it, and it gets scanned into the computer, and the demon then gets awoken in the computer. And that episode's just, it's not good. Like, it's like...
Every 90s show had some form of, like, computer episode. Like, I remember when I was watching the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, they had a computer episode, and it was the worst thing I could ever see.
Yeah, it was just, like, all the computer stuff was bad in it. Like, they were just saying computer words because no one knew what that stuff was in the 90s anyway.
Yeah.
It wasn't as bad as that episode of, what is that fucking show that's been on for a billion fucking years?
NCIS?
Yes, that one. The one where they dual anti-hack the person on the same keyboard.
Yes.
Like, what the fuck are you people doing?
Yeah.
But the whole thing led up to this fucking demon having these people build it a robot body to fight in. that's also connected to the internet, so it knows all of the information.
Yeah.
Like, such a weird, like, that was a weird, not great episode, but, like, I want to say we have, like, 2 or 3 episodes left in the first season, because the first season's only 12 episodes, and, like, they've been more good than bad.
Yeah.
And, like, seeing some of these actors as basically fucking children is weird. Like, so Erica has been watching How I Met Your Mother on Hulu, like, at night. So she is seeing Allison Hannigan as, like, a 20-ish year old playing a 15-year-old in Buffy, and then as, like, a snarky adult in How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
And, like, her character in Buffy is very, like, timid and soft-spoken and everything, especially in the early seasons. So, it, like, she actually said to me, she's like, it's weird seeing her play, like, these drastically different characters, basically back-to-back.
Yeah.
Because, like, we're watching an episode of that, I'm going to bed, and then she's putting on How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
And then, like, David Boreanaz is in it, and he was on Bones for so long that, like, I feel like he just always looked like he did in Bones. But, like, 10 years before that, he basically looked like a child in Buffy.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't really age much, but, yeah.
He's, like, not that he's not heavy, but he's, like, bulkier by the time of Bones through today. Like his face is broader, like, his body is broader, but, like, he's, like, muscular still.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting further into the series, because I do remember, like, season 2 forward, like, it got better and it kind of figured itself out more. The way most shows do if they get past season 1.
Yeah.
Oh, and then we have, so the last news thing, I'm actually excited for this one, Rich. I'm sure you will be too.
Yeah.
David Ramsey, who played John Diggle in Arrow, is heading back to the Arrowverse. He's going to be directing 5 episodes across multiple series. The 2 that were confirmed were episodes of Superman and Lois and Supergirl.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's going to be reprising his role as John Diggle in 4 episodes. So it's going to be an episode of basically each show. Superman and Lois, Supergirl, Flash, and Batwoman. He's apparently also going to be an unconfirmed character in an episode of Legends.
Yeah.
So theory is from the end of Arrow that he found a Green Lantern. Like, him and his family are moving to Metropolis. That meteor crashes. He opens the box and it's glowing green, but they don't show you what's inside. And I don't know if you'll remember this exactly either, but it was either in Elseworlds or Crisis. One of the alternate Flashes mistakes him for Jon Stewart, like the Green Lantern.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if the episode of Legends, especially because this season deals with aliens, because Sarah got abducted at the end of the last one. I'm wondering if he will be like an alternate version of Jon Stewart.
Well, they destroyed the multiverse.
But Oliver rebuilt it.
Yeah, but it's impossible. Not impossible, but it causes very terrible effects if you jump between universes, as we saw in Batwoman. Like, if there's 2 of the same people in the same universe, they, like, both start to die, basically.
But that's only when it's happening over a long period of time. If you look at Supergirl had the refugees in that bar for quite a while.
Yeah, yeah.
And like,
I don't know. It's weird. I don't know if he would be playing like an alternate universe Jon Stewart. It is an interesting thought, and it'd be pretty cool.
He could also just be Green Lantern at that point. Like, his 5 episodes or his 4 other appearances could be him sort of learning and dealing with the Ring and like interacting with the other heroes. Like, he goes to Flash first because he has the existing relationship with Flash.
Yeah. And
like, Flash sends him to Supergirl, who sends him to Superman, who sends him to Gotham because he figures Bruce had something on the Batcomputer.
Yeah.
And then by the time he gets to Legends, he's a Green Lantern and has gone into space.
Yeah, and he is Diggle, but he's the Green Lantern, and that's what they're gonna bill him as or something.
Yeah, which that's why they wouldn't necessarily specify who he's playing in this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we'll have to wait until the new year. But I'm glad that they're finding ways to bring those characters back, because just because their show ended doesn't mean that like they all died.
Yeah, it's like that with Supergirl too. Like, this is the last season of Supergirl, and I'm bummed because I really liked it. But like, hopefully all those characters like stay in line with the whole super team stuff.
Yeah, I did see a thing where there's a rumor going around that she doesn't want to be Supergirl anymore after the series ends. Like, she wants to distance herself from the role so that she's not typecast. Which would be a bummer if, like, they just write her out and then never have that character in there again.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they could probably give her enough money to go back from time to time.
I mean, maybe. You never know. If somebody really doesn't want to do that sort of thing, though, they're not going to do it.
Yeah.
But also, that was a rumor. Like, there was no confirmation from her or her management or anything like that.
Yeah.
And then we've got, you watched your weekly Kaiju movie?
Yes.
I don't know
Ebirah, Horror of the Deep.
Okay, thank you. I wasn't sure how that was actually pronounced.
Yeah. It was weird, man.
So, before you get started, does this movie explain how Godzilla gets back from space?
Oh, no, the other one did.
Wait, how did he get back from space? Because when we were talking about it, I thought they left him there.
The aliens brought him back to attack Earth because they were invading Earth and they were using the monsters to attack Earth. So the aliens from Planet X basically persuaded the humans to bring the monsters to Planet X to save Planet X, and then sent the humans home with this formula, on a reel, an audio reel. They play the audio reel, and it basically says, surrender and let us take over your planet, or we will destroy you all with the monsters that we know how to control. And then they send Rodan, Godzilla, and Ghidorah to Earth, and they basically mind control them. Well, not mind control, but they play it, send microwaves to them to cause them to be under their control.
And this is the same movie where, like, the people from Earth literally, like you said, they just watched as Rodan and Godzilla just kind of stood on this other planet, like, looking at them, like, what the fuck, guys?
Yeah, it's the same, it's like...
Okay, I totally forgot that
later.
I forgot that we talked about that, because I just remember us specifically talking about them being left on the planet.
Yeah. The end of the, Invasion of Astro Monster was... like, Godzilla and Rodan fighting Ghidorah after the humans had found a way to knock out the audio waves, or the microwaves, and they also figured out this noise that they can play that destroys all the systems and the aliens from Planet X. And we also got into the discussion of Mars Attacks, and how they use that song to kill the aliens from Mars Attacks.
Right, I do remember that.
Yeah. And then I think I even mentioned, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, where there's a song that they play that shrinks the tomatoes, and then at the end of that movie, they just crush tomatoes to kill them.
Yeah, because you were surprised that I had never seen Mars Attacks.
Yeah, I'm still surprised that you haven't seen Mars Attacks. But so Ebirah, Horror of the Deep takes place after Invasion of Astro Monster. It has Ebirah, Godzilla, and Mothra. Ebirah is a lobster monster. And God, this movie was so weird. That like, I don't even know how to explain it. A group of people trying to create, like a terrorist organization basically, trying to create atomic weapons on this island, kidnap a bunch of people from Infant Island, which is where Mothra is from, and use this fruit on the island that they're trying to make the atomic bombs to create this liquid that detracts Ebirah. And Ebirah stays around this island so they can come and go as they please by using this liquid. But anybody who goes near the island gets attacked by Ebirah. And for some reason, Godzilla's just napping in a mountain there. And he's just sleeping. And in order for them to wake him up, they set up a sword to use it as a lightning rod and some wire to go down to his head to shock him awake because he's in like a low stasis mode kind of thing. It was weird.
Yeah, that sounds just kind of dumb.
This one was probably the second worst. Like, Kong and then this one. And, like, I was just like, I don't know, Ebirah was, like, lame. It was just a fucking lobster monster. It was dumb. And it just, like, even, like, the people stories were, like, stupid. And it's just, like, nothing of this one, in my opinion, was that good. It was still a Godzilla movie, and the fights were okay. Mothra teamed up with Godzilla to fight Ebirah, but, like, you really didn't need Mothra. I don't even remember what Mothra did. He just kind of flew around, or she just kind of flew around. At one point, Godzilla just ripped the claw off Ebirah before Mothra even shows up. And it's just, it wasn't... No, I think Mothra actually fought Godzilla a bit. Because Godzilla started to go on a rampage destroying the base on the island. And it's just like, yeah, I don't remember, like, I sat there, I watched it, but I did not like it, so I don't really remember a lot of it. And it was like, it was the weirdest one so far, even after talking about Invasion of Astro Monsters, where aliens from Planet X have a formula to cure all disease. This is the weirdest one. Like, and I didn't like it. I don't think it was good. I didn't look up reviews to see what other people thought of it, because I just don't care that much. I didn't like it. And I thought Ebirah sucked.
So what's the next one?
The next one is, I'm not sure. I have to look that up.
Way to not be prepared.
Oh, while I was watching this, I found out that there's a TV series called Godzilla Island. And I will talk about that in a second.
Is that from like the 60s or whatever?
Hold on, I'll tell you in a second. So next is Son of Godzilla.
I thought I thought this Godzilla was the son of Godzilla.
No. The next one is Son of Godzilla, which Godzilla has a son in this one. And then it's Destroy All Monsters Attack, Hedorah, Gigan, Megalon, Mechagodzilla, Mechagodzilla.
Oh, there's 2 Mechagodzillas in a row?
Yeah, it's Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, and then Terror of Mechagodzilla. King Caesar's in that one. When is King Caesar? But yeah, so my next one is Son of Godzilla, which has, Manila, which is Godzilla's son, Kamacuras, which is like a ant-looking thing, and I have no idea what Kumonga is. It looks like a spider. So
yeah, I've never heard of that.
Neither have I. I don't have high hopes for these ones. For this one, fun fact, it was directed by the same person who did Ebirah, so I really have no low hopes for so I'm not like really looking forward. I'm not saying I'm not looking forward to it, but I'm gonna watch it, but like even like Baby Godzilla looks terrible. Like, look up...
Like, the movie as a whole, or just the Baby Godzilla?
Look, the name is Manila. Minilla. He looks so terrible. And
God.
Yeah. The best way to explain it is, like, he is an adult-sized human. Like, when he's a baby, he's the size of an adult. Who has, like, normal arm and legs, like, length, like, human-sized arms and legs. I think barely has a tail, or has a little bit of a tail, and like has this weird like Ninja Turtle-y kind of face, but like terrible. And he's like, it's not good. And I know he's in the next 3 movies, because in All Monsters Attack, Godzilla dies, and then he absorbs the power of Godzilla and becomes the new Godzilla. But looking at the wiki, he is in Son of Godzilla, Destroy All Monsters, and All Monsters Attack. But yeah, Ebirah was not that great, in my opinion. Now let's look up. I need to search it because it's interesting what it is. Godzilla Island was a TV show from the started in 1997, ran for a total of 256 3-minute episodes, finishing on September 30th, 1998.
Wait, say those dates again?
It premiered October 6th, 1997, and ran for a total of 256 3-minute episodes.
Oh, it's one of those.
Finishing September 30th, 1998.
That's weird.
Yeah. I don't know how I figured that out. I think I was watching a video of the evolution of Mothra, and it mentioned Godzilla Island. I'm like, what the fuck is Godzilla Island? So now I, like, kind of want to watch this. But it's 256 times 3. That's kind of a long time. You can go watch different episodes on YouTube. Apparently the first one that comes up is Godzilla Island Kaiju Dance-a-thon.
Wow.
Yeah, apparently that's a thing. So I might have to try to find a way to watch it. But yeah, if you're gonna watch Godzilla movies, probably can skip Ebirah. So far you can skip King Kong vs. Godzilla, you can skip Ebirah. Unfortunately, you're probably going to still have to watch Son of Godzilla.
I mean, that might not be bad, though.
Hopefully not, but like I said, it's directed by the same person who did Ebirah, so I have low hopes for it.
You know what, I get that.
And it's got, like, 2 monsters I've never heard of before. I have seen the beginning of this one, I'm sure I have. Because the beginning of it, Manila, who I always thought his name was Godzuki, Manila...
I think that's a different one. There are different Godzilla Juniors from what I just found.
Yeah, I'm sure there are. And Godzuki wasn't until, like, the mid to late 90s, I think. Or a different time altogether. But, like, Manila can speak, like, English or Japanese. They can speak to humans. And, they're trying to learn how to use their, atomic breath. And the only way Godzilla can get him to actually use it is when he steps on his tail and then he can fire his atomic breath. It's the dumbest thing ever. So, like...
That sounds pretty dumb.
Yeah, what I remember of seeing this back in the day, it was dumb. And yeah, Manila just looks terrible. So yeah, we'll have another probably bad, Kaiju review next week, and then hopefully we get something good with, Destroy All Monsters, which I'm so excited for, because that has Ghidorah, Rodan, Mothra, Agirus, Kumonga, which I don't know what that is, Monada, which is like, I guess like one of the water dinosaurs with the long necks. Not Brachiosaur, but like, I don't know how to explain it. It's got a bunch of monsters that I've never even seen.
Okay.
It's got the octopus from, but it's got a bunch of monsters, so I'm looking forward to that one. 2 weeks. I'll watch it in 2 weeks.
Right. Well, I think that might be everything. Unless either of you guys have anything else?
I've been playing a bunch of Doom Eternal, but I'm about halfway through, so...
How is it?
I can, just as ridiculous over the top as the first one.
Nice.
Or, well, the 2016 reboot.
Yeah, I know what you meant. That game is on Game Pass, and I definitely want to grab it. I just want to get through Yakuza first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's totally worth playing if you liked the 2016 Doom.
I did. I was not great at it, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I feel like this one's maybe a little more difficult than the 2016 one, just because you have a couple more combat options, and you have to kind of remember to actually make use of them.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that game is so fast-paced, though. Like, it's kind of the opposite of sort of the Souls game issue I have. Like, everything's so fast-paced that even if you die and have to redo, like, an area a couple times, it can go so differently every time, and you're just kind of right back into it every time.
Yeah. And especially playing that on the PS5, there is, like, no load time.
Oh, I believe that.
Like, literally, the loading bar when you... The loading when you start a mission's not bad. It's maybe 10 seconds. If that, probably even less than that. But when you die and have to reload, I swear the loading bar goes from, like, 0 to 95 basically immediately. And then you can watch it real fast go from 95 to 100.
Oh, nice.
There's times where you have to hit X to actually restart it. And there's times where I'm like, why hasn't this gone? And I'm like, oh, shit, I forgot to hit the button.
Whoops.
Yep.
Cool.
Real quick, Godzuki is Godzilla's nephew, because cartoons are always nephews, that appeared in the 1978 television cartoon series, The Godzilla Power Hour, for
that
2
seems
seasons.
unnecessary.
It was 2 seasons. 26 episodes. That's it.
All right. Well, if that's all you guys have, we will call that an episode.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So if you'd like to find more of our content, you can head over to www.one-quest.com. You can also help us out by supporting us at patreon.com/onequest. If you can't support us there with dollars, then you can head over to your favorite podcast platform, like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon Music. Rate us, review us, subscribe to us. All those things help a whole bunch. You can also find us on social media, facebook.com/onequestonline or at @1_quest on Instagram and Twitter. Our YouTube channel is youtube.com/onequestvideo, and you can send us emails to social@one-quest.com. Yeah, that'll do it. We'll be back next week with something else. Thanks for listening. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.